To Russia now, where President Vladimir Putin hosted African leaders today for a summit. It wasn't a great turnout for the Kremlin, though. Fewer than half of the leaders who took part in the event in 2019 showed up this time. But nonetheless, Putin promised to donate tons of grain as the continent worries about the halted Black Sea deal.
Понимаем, какое значение имеет бесперебойное снабжение африканских стран продуктами питания.
Russian President Vladimir Putin told African leaders he would gift them tens of thousands of tons of grain within months, despite Western sanctions, which he said made it harder for Moscow to export its grain and fertilizers. Speaking at a summit in St. Petersburg devoted to Russian-African ties, Putin said Russia was expecting a record grain harvest this year and was ready to replace Ukrainian grain exports to Africa on both a commercial and aid basis, and honor what he said was Moscow's critical role in global food security. The issue was on the mind of the leaders who attended.
Un accord doit être possible pour essayer de sauver.
We need to find a resolution to the crisis in order to try to save the thousands of people who depend on these imports, the head of the African Union said at the summit today. Some Western politicians have said Russia's exit from the Black Sea grain deal is irresponsible and will result in the suffering of millions of people in poor countries. The arrangement allowed Ukraine to safely export its grain.
It is clear that when taking out of the market millions and millions of tons of grains, it is clear that, based on economic laws, that will lead to higher prices.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that Putin's gifted grain will not help the situation.
So it's not with a handful of donations to some countries that we correct this dramatic impact that affects everybody, everywhere.
Global wheat prices spiked about 10% in the 10 days after Russia quit the pact. The UN says the biggest impact of this halted deal will be on poor countries, like some of the African nations that Putin is hosting. But Putin told the summit that over 70% of Ukrainian grain exported, thanks to the now lapsed deal, had gone to high-income or above-average income countries, including in the European Union, and that poor countries like Sudan had been screwed over and received less than 3% of the shipments.